managing and protecting the world's grueling number of endpoints, enabling Tanium's customers to see, control, and protect every endpoint everywhere. Tanium's mission is to provide certainty in uncertain times with the industry's only converged endpoint management. Trusted by the U.S. military and the majority of the Fortune 100, Tanium helps manage and protect nearly 30 million endpoints. Tanium, the power of certainty. Visit securityweekly.com/Tanium to learn more. When it comes to cybersecurity, the biggest threats are the ones you never see coming. SecureWorks detects and responds to cyber attackers' ever-changing tactics. We come armed with Taegis, a security analytics platform designed to recognize attacks and stop them before they do harm. SecureWorks, defending every corner of cyberspace. Learn more at securityweekly.com/SecureWorks. Welcome back to Enterprise Security Weekly. You can now find us on Instagram. Follow us for highlight reels, giveaway announcements, and more at Sec Weekly. That's SEC Weekly. All right, now for the Enterprise Security Weekly news. This is episode 300, very special round number there. I don't remember what my first one was, but I don't think I've hit another round number, so it must have been after 200. But you can follow along at securityweekly.com/ESW300 if you want to check out the links, see all the news stories that we're going to talk about, and perhaps some that we might not get to. We've got 23 today, not a huge amount, not a small amount. So first on the list, Katie, we've got our first unicorn with a down round. So this
first unicorn, and it will not be the last, unfortunately.
I agree. I doubt that's going to be the last. So I looked up their previous round. This is a Series G. We don't see a lot of Series Gs. Just shy of 200 million, and it's about half what their previous round was, and knocks them down from $8.6 billion valuation. They're number 2 under Tanium on the unicorn list, down to a measly $7.4 billion.
It's interesting why I'd be interested to be in that boardroom, right? A G round with a company with a $7.4 billion valuation. This is not a company that's just popped up overnight. They have customers. I see billboards everywhere I travel, right?
Yeah.
Why take on this debt?
Yeah.
For, either they know something that I've never heard about, which is certainly possible, or somebody's making a crazy bet on this company. But it seems like a huge extent to go to a Series G, especially when, at least from the outside, it appears that there is a good customer base, there is good usage of the product, there's good market penetration, they have good branding.
Yeah.
All the elements seem to be in place.
Yeah, except for the fact that I thought it was like the comic book sound that Wolverine makes when his knives come out, when his blades come out.
Sneak!
Yeah, I mean, that's how I always heard it in my head. And like a couple of years ago, somebody told me, no, it's sneak. I was like, oh, man. I thought it was like sneak. I thought it was like Wolverine's claws. But yeah, we don't know how they're deploying that capital, right? We don't know if ownership is changing hands. We don't know if they're redoing the cap table. We don't know how that 200 million is being deployed. Is it all going into marketing? Are they expanding into EMEA? We don't get those kinds of details. Sometimes it'll be in the press release. They'll talk about how they're going to use the money. Sometimes you have to read between the lines. I remember the $250 million round that Tenable raised, where it was clear they were buying out some of the founders. And basically that's where Gula Adventures came from, right? And Ron Gula started investing back into the industry.
It's just interesting when you look at it, and if you amortize the amount of funding raised over the years, over the size of the company, over the valuation, how much better off are you?
Yeah.
That's maybe something Tyler can answer, but he's at a party.
Yeah. Both Tyler and Sean. Sean has also left us, dear listeners. They both have holiday parties that are more important than this show to them, and that's fine. That's fine. We can Katie and I can handle the news. So the next one, it's kind of funny because this started as a joke, and I completely forgot about the joke. And when I was putting together the news, I had these items in there as normal funding. And I don't know how recently you've loaded the links here, but I had to rename it from funding to squirrel funding. Are you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody said, wouldn't it be funny if somebody wrote a press release that a ninja came out of stealth?
And then here it is.
And here it is. Just I didn't ask if he's okay with me publicly talking about the fact that he's the one that did it, but he knows who he is. And it was very funny. Like, I thought he was just going to write a press release and post it somewhere, but he got a domain name, he set up a fake company, everything. So Ninja 5 Technologies comes out of stealth with $20 million in funding. If it's not clear, this is a joke. And it's some kind of stealth phone. It's some kind of
it's very
secure
fun
phone
to read. It's not very long. It is a fun read.
So funny bit, this website and all these posts, there's multiple posts. There's the press release, and then there's almost like a pre-press release, like a coming out of stealth announcement, all written by ChatGPT. All of it's written by ChatGPT.
Yeah, taking our job.
Taking our jobs. Yep.
I need a new job because clearly chat I'm going to be out of a job. Some of these things are just too good. I couldn't come up with that stuff.
Well, I was asking him, how'd you find time to do all this? And he was like, I didn't do most of it. I didn't write any of that. I just asked ChatGPT to. I was like, whoa. Yeah. So practical jokers, you can your practical jokes can be much more extensive now thanks to ChatGPT. All right, getting back to real news.
Actual.
Not fake news. Resonate raises $8.7 million, cloud identity protection platform. So we're seeing a lot of identity-focused cloud security products. It's a very, very clear and interesting trend here.
Boston and Tel Aviv-based startup that is also pretty par for the course these days. Looking at another reasonable seed round, not an outrageous seed round. So again, looking at that leveling off a little bit, and cloud identity, obviously, big thing with DevOps and the rate at which companies are adopting cloud. So not a surprise at all. I guess it'll be interesting to watch and just see how big the market is, how many of these companies can be sustained, to our point in the previous section, because there's a lot of noise in this space.
One of the things I love about this press release is that it includes a screenshot of the product's dashboard. And you can say a lot of stuff in a press release, but that the whole picture worth 1,000 words thing is super true with a SaaS-based security company, because there's it really clicks once you look at that dashboard. And these guys are pretty early stage, so I don't know if that's a mock-up or if that's what the actual product looks like right now. But either way, it's you can see where it fits into your product portfolio, your product landscape.
Yeah, and I don't know either, but nice looking dashboard, clean, easy to read, very well laid out. So somebody's thought about product design.
Yeah, and I don't know if we need. If a product like this is what we need to solve the, for the visibility we need on identities, but certainly we've seen attacks that take advantage of mismanaged cloud identities. Whether it's whether it's
And we will continue to.
yeah, whether it's AWS keys or IAM roles. Certainly a cloud is a thing that can be ransomed. It can be used to mine cryptocurrency. Monero miners are very happy with AWS GPU instances. A lot of stuff you can do with somebody's cloud. You can copy all the data out very, very quickly, from maybe the attacker has an adjacent AWS account and, S3 bucket copy from one AWS to another goes pretty quick, I hear. All right, moving on. Let's see. Didn't have time to look into a lot of these. These other two. I guess there's just two more fundings on the list here. Acquisitions. Proofpoint acquired Elusive, which the detection through deception market wasn't huge. It was maybe half a dozen, maybe 8. Vendors at one point. A couple of them got acquired. What was the big one that got acquired by? My brain's starting to go. Getting towards the end of the year.
Observe it.
It was Will Lin invested in them. They were a ForgePoint portfolio company. But what'd you say?
Oh no, I was completely wrong year. Wrong portfolio.
And they did a bunch of stuff. They had a phishing button, so like a phishing reporting tool. They had the deception tool.
No.
They they were a deception company. They just had kind of some of these other products going along with it, and they were acquired by SentinelOne. And we talked about them. We're both Googling.
I'm both Googling.
Ativo.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so that was the other big one. I think that one was around, it was $617 million. But because Proofpoint was taken private, we don't know what the deal size is here. So there's, it's difficult to tell if this was a good exit, if this was exit under duress, as they say. Do you have some inside info there?
No, but I was just going to say, Observe It, that I mentioned before, they were also acquired by Proofpoint, but in 2019.
Yep.
So this is almost a trend for them at this point.
Yeah, so Proofpoint has made a lot of, I guess that's 9-digit acquisitions, 100 into hundreds of millions. I think this is their if this one is over 100 million, this would be their 5th acquisition of that size. So yeah, Proofpoint has been doing some consolidation, which is what we hear CISOs want to see. Them and not nearly caught up with Fortra and formerly Help Systems and their number of acquisitions. But getting there. Also, Veracode picked up a company. I got the impression Crash Test Security was a smaller company, maybe even regional. Were they out of Europe? Did I see that right? Yeah, Germany-based software security tool, Crash Test Security, will enhance the existing DAST capabilities as part of Veracode's continuous software security platform. So, small tuck-in here. I don't think there's a deal amount that I saw, which... is Veracode? Did somebody take them private? I can't even remember. I think Veracode they got bounced around quite a bit between two.
Yeah, they were bought, and then Thoma Bravo picked them up. I'm not sure who owns them now.
Yeah, TA Associates is their current owner. So another private equity firm. Yeah, they got bought by CA, and then CA got bought by Broadcom, and then Broadcom spun them out to Thoma Bravo, and now they are, this year, at some point this year, we must have reported on it, I'm sure, got acquired by TA Associates. Yeah, it was in March, which is why I don't remember it now.
Brain doesn't go back that far.
Not these
It's
days.
like when somebody asked me about a piece I wrote from 3 months ago, I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm in it, and then it goes out my brain. That's why we have storage on our laptops.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody contacted me. I did another podcast and a while back, and like I just saw it on my socials. Like they tagged me, that I did a podcast with them, and I was like, I did. Like it was. That's one of the things I love about this podcast because we do everything live. This is published within an hour after we're done with it, and this one. I mean, we get a whole production crew here. This is one of those one-person podcasts, and I guess he just got busy, got backed up. But next time I'm here, I wanted to mention I don't have a huge opinion on it, except it's a move in the right direction. But Apple is now what I understand about this is they're going to be encrypting more of your data in iCloud. I think in the past they hadn't been doing that, which gave law enforcement the ability to recover data from iCloud, which was one of the excuses for not putting a backdoor in iOS, as the FBI was requesting of them. If somebody had iCloud syncing turned on, most of the data they were after was already there, right? So now looks like we're going to have some end-to-end encryption between the phones and the data stored in the cloud, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Which is really a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think there's a certain amount of expectation of no privacy when we're using our phones, when we're using our laptops, when we're using anything connected, really. And that shouldn't be the way it is. So kudos to Apple, because I know this has been a very long road. It's been a contentious road. I mean, the amount of money that they must have spent fighting these kinds of things, the requests. And of course, there are certain ones that they have to and should comply with. But, the oversight and the extraneous data requests or data access, it shouldn't be allowed. And the world is different than it was 10 years ago. It's different than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And it shouldn't be just because we're using a technology or a service that everything we know or do or say goes out the window. So this is great. I hope other companies follow suit. I don't think a lot of them will, at least not right away, because it's really expensive to do it. But good on Apple and they've been pushing this for a long time.
Apple has an expensive ecosystem, but that's actually a benefit to the customer here because instead of subsidizing their products by selling data to partners, to advertisers and stuff like that, they're making their money off of their customers directly, which means there's not an incentive, to be loose with data here, to have data sharing, stuff hidden in EULAs and stuff like that. So it's actually a benefit of Apple devices being expensive, is like that's part of your assurance that they don't have to make up some extra profit somewhere else by selling your data.
Right. Right. And it looks really, I saw an ad somewhere recently saying $1,500 cash back on your new iPhone. And I was like, what? But then when you put it in perspective, I mean, it's the cost of privacy. Mm-hmm. And you're paying not to have to deal with all of this other stuff or all of the other money you would spend on other things to either, buy products or not buy products or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you scroll down on the item for this a little bit to the first image there, it's a really interesting use case they show here. So in this use case, in this mock-up, the owner of the phone is chatting with somebody named Jenny. And at the bottom, right where you would type your responses to Jenny there's a little warning that an unrecognized device may have been added to Jenny's account. So that's really, really interesting. Like, I'm not sure exactly what the scenario looks like that results in that warning being sent to someone that you're connected to, but I imagine that might lead to a bit of an awkward conversation, though.
That might lead to me turning off my phone and taking out the battery if I can.
Yeah, no, you can't take out batteries anymore.
It
You need
depends on the
special tools
phone.
for that.
That's why I said if I can. I don't really
Yeah.
know. I'm sure I can crack open my phone at some point, but
No, it's all glue. Yeah, I actually have I do phone repair, and they make a like a heating pad that you would lay that on to melt the glue, and
what about?
then you have to pry the screen out, and you have to take the motherboard out, and a few other things like the charge port. There's no headphone jack to take out anymore, but
No, there's
yeah.
not.
And
I had to go buy myself a pair of the Bluetooth earphones when I earbuds when I got this because I was like, oh, which is actually good because then I came right into the 21st century.
And then you have access to the battery, and there's these little adhesive pull tabs. So the adhesive that keeps the battery stuck in there, there's this little tab, and if you carefully pull it, like a bit of stringy cheese on a pizza, the whole adhesive piece will slide out from underneath the battery, and then you can take the battery out.
Really?
So,
You had to go to pizza. Before this segment, you're talking about Indian food. Now
I'm
you're
hungry.
talking
I've not had a meal today. I've been unintentionally fasting because it's been a very busy day. So
right, but now you're just torturing the rest of us.
So I might be a step closer to being convinced to switch to an Apple device. They're doing some cool stuff there.
Yeah, that's you know, I'm not an Apple. Well, that's not true. I have 3 Mac laptops, but you know, I've been an Android phone user for a really long time. But you know, Apple started, you know, way back when, having much better security. They had other things that I disliked, but much better security. And it sounds like they're pulling ahead again as far as that goes. So hopefully the other manufacturers will also work in the same vein. But if they don't, if it doesn't work out, yeah, you're right. From at least a security and privacy perspective, this is really attractive.
And they've been really consistent with their product strategy on
Yeah.
being interested in the their safety of their customers. Not that other manufacturers aren't, but that's led to some very specific product features. And
Right.
at the same time, they've also had some issues, like the issues with like it would be nice to have your phone call 911 when you have a car crash, but then it starts doing it while you're on a roller coaster because that looks very similar to the accelerometer data. And the audio, like they use a bunch of different sensors to determine, like screaming. Like, of course, people are going to be screaming on a roller coaster. So now the theme park's getting all these 911 calls all at once too.
So I just had a really terrible thought, and I'm going to share it because it's Enterprise Security Weekly. I wonder if there have been any deaths from phones falling out of people's pockets on roller coasters.
Oh, like the phone hitting somebody?
Yeah.
I'm not sure phones, like maybe a kid or something like that. I don't think they're going to fall fast enough to kill somebody. They could definitely injure somebody.
Well, it depends if you're on the upswing or the downswing where you are on
if
that.
it's got some extra velocity behind it, yeah.
Yeah, if you're on a roller coaster, you've got that momentum.
It could become a projectile, definitely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring us down a really dark path there.
No, it's fine. It's the other thing I was going to mention with Apple was the snafu with AirTags being used to stalk people. So that kind of goes against that, like the intent of that. I mean, if they asked anybody at Security Weekly, we would have, we definitely saw that coming. It was obviously something that Tile dealt with early on. So, it's kind of interesting they had to add some new functionality after the release of that. But still, best intentions. I wish we had Sean here because I was going to ask him about number 10 because I don't really understand passkeys because it sounds like it's another category of. Do you understand anything about the passkeys? Because it's different from security keys. It's different from TOTP, I understand. It's
It's apparently the first line of defense in our digital lives. And they're a great risk of being phished. This is
you can't
not
just
the
read
great
it.
way to
You
start
can't just
a
read the
blog.
press release.
No fear and uncertainty here. No, I don't understand the intricacies.
Yeah. But it's well, I mean, it's clear that it's another form of authentication that's intended to be low friction. It works with biometrics. So I think Windows Hello already supports this. And I've already seen a couple cases where I can use Windows Hello to log into a website, which is interesting because that's going to be a fingerprint or a face identification, and same thing on Apple devices. Face ID and Touch ID. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Securely generated code is exchanged unlike a password. There's nothing that could be leaked. Okay, that needs a little more reading up.
Yeah, I think the idea is the passkeys are single use. So that's why they're saying there's no credential to be captured if they're generating one-time codes. Again, I'm guessing here. We'll have to ask Sean to
this
read
is
up on this one.
definitely something that requires further reading.
Yeah. Let's see. I mentioned was that in the last episode? Yeah, I think it was the last segment. I mentioned Will Lynn's new book, The VC Field Guide, which he has announced. Writing a book with Wiley, and be very interested to check that out. He has some very interesting thoughts on VC. I think some very clear thoughts that I am looking forward to seeing in that book. I don't think I ever made a list of all the security companies that went public via SPAC. I know of at least one that failed, and I think it was Complex, which had a really funky spelling like QOMPLX or something like that. They basically undid the SPAC like a couple days after they went public through it. But this was another one, IronNet. And IronNet got a bunch of coverage because there was a pretty famous ex-military
General Alexander. Yeah.
Thank you. General Alexander was like typically that would be somebody who's on the board, but I think he was actually credited as a founder. Was that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was largely touted as his company, and there was a lot riding on his reputation here. Yeah.
Yeah, and this thing it's below $1. It's at a point now where it looks like it's probably going to be delisted. I didn't see if this is on the NASDAQ or not. Not that it matters. No, it's New York Stock Exchange. But yeah, I imagine it's going to get delisted. It's just it further confirms that SPACs aren't a great way to take a company public. I think it's worked in a few cases.
That's a trend we can hope dies after 2022.
Well, they made it much more difficult to do it, and we've seen people even run out of time to because I think that's one of the factors is you only have so much time to identify targets to take public using your SPAC. And I think it's gotten a little bit more difficult, so we'll see less for that reason alone. But yeah, I'm not sure it made a whole lot of sense. Like a secret company going public, you wanna have absolutely no ability to judge the risk for your investment. Sounds great. Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, I guess they were hoping that there would be enough built up anticipation, but
or you
really,
trust like whoever runs the SPAC, like you just really trust their judgment, I guess. Right?
Well, there is a certain community within the cyber community that believes that, hey, if you've got good, trustworthy people working at your company, then you should just buy into that company. I don't know if that's the greatest strategy for putting your cybersecurity in somebody's hands. Like, hey, they did well before, so therefore they're definitely going to do well this time too. But that's sort of how the SPAC, an element of the SPACs worked as well.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So you actually, the latest version of your newsletter, were you doing some predictions there?
Well, I was asked to do a year in retrospect type of post and then tie that into predictions. But I think predictions are a little silly, so I had a little fun with it. You, of course, offered up your own prediction in my post there, and not terribly surprisingly, it focused around our good friend, the job killer, that is OpenAI's GPT-3.
Yeah. Indeed.
But it was really a fun post because, looking back at things that people predicted a little over a year ago, what was happening? Well, we talk about security being really fast moving. I think that's sort of a reel that a lot of us play in our heads too. Because there are a lot of things that we've actually been working on for 4 or 5 years that haven't advanced to the level of quickness that might otherwise be attributed to the cybersecurity industry. And we were talking about it in the last segment too. There are things that we just still need to work on and will always need to work on. So that's part of the reason I think predictions posts and trends posts are kind of silly, because a lot of these quote predictions are just predicated on what's been trending. And so that's not much of a prediction, really. I mean, I guess it's a prediction of sorts, but there's more
of an observation, right?
Yeah, it's an observation. There's no magical, in the future you will whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting. I think it's worth every now and then going back and looking at older predictions and seeing what people were thinking. Like if depending on where you go back, I mentioned consumer IoT devices. There's a big prediction that that was going to be the biggest, spiciest place we were going to see hacks. And my opinion was, people maybe didn't think about the financials, the economics of that for the criminal side. There just wasn't a whole lot of benefit there, or a clear way to monetize that. And then you go back even farther than that, and mobile security was a big thing. We needed to run AV and host IPS and all this crazy stuff on our phone, or all our phones were going to get hacked. Except the thing was, phones were already they were sandboxed before anything else. iOS and Android were born in times when everything was getting malware on it. So they were hyper aware of that. And because of the design, all your software comes from a centrally controlled app store, makes it much easier to keep malicious software off it. Wasn't a guarantee. People still slip malicious stuff in there,
Sure.
Using ad platforms, you could get malicious stuff on there. A lot of social engineering. We've seen a lot of mobile devices, not really the device getting hacked. It's just conning somebody into manually doing something that ends up in their device getting compromised. So, yeah, predictions are, I think it's interesting for other people to do them and to go back and, with the benefit of hindsight, critique them and think, why did we think that? Yeah.
I was when I was at Forrester, when, the analysts, I was not an analyst there, I was in sales there, and the analysts would go back and look at their predictions from a few years before, and some of them would just get such a good chuckle. And,
oh, yeah.
Others of them would be really, oh, geez, I messed that up. And others would just be like, yeah, you could either see this coming a mile away, or, wow, missed the mark on that one. Oh, well, that's what a prediction is.
Yep. And if anyone predicted that TikTok would get banned, actually, I think a lot of people are surprised it's not more widely banned than it already is. But in the news, we have both Taiwan and Texas banning TikTok, and of course, this is just on like public employee devices, and employees of the government.
Yeah.
Not everyone who lives in those places. But still notable to talk about.
Well, it's not just that, because the U.S. Senate 4 hours ago, it was reported on NPR that the U.S. Senate approved a bill to ban TikTok on federal agency devices.
Oh, really?
Governor Sununu banned TikTok from state government devices.
Breaking news.
Yep. Kemp bans TikTok from all state devices. Yep.
Wow.
So, and that's just the top of my news. But yeah, it's really heating up, because this is not, you can't control this, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's interesting because the fear here it isn't all that visible. Like the fear isn't that, oh, there's a backdoor in the app and they're going to siphon data off your phone. The fear is more that they're developing these algorithms where they don't ask your age or gender. They've gotten smart enough where they can just figure that out from your habits. Like the fact that you don't search what you want to watch on TikTok, it just knows what you want to watch. Like it's much more subtle. And I think, as a result, much more creepy what they're doing with it in terms of, okay, now if they understand how everybody's thinking and what everybody wants, to watch or to see, now you can be manipulated, right? Now you can be fed some propaganda. You can be led to think a certain way about different things. They can slip in a video here and there, to do that kind of stuff. And that's... the fact that everybody on TikTok is just part of one really giant, like, behavioral study. that's what's kind of creepy about it, right?
It is. Even Instagram works that way a little bit.
Oh, not a little bit. A lot of it.
I only use it to post pictures of my dog, and I actually had a big fight with Facebook because you're supposed to have your Instagram linked to your Facebook account, and I didn't want it linked to my Facebook account.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on TikTok, but I wanted my dog to be, or on Instagram. I wanted my dog to be on Instagram because she's amazing. And I had to go through such rigmarole to get a profile that wasn't on Facebook onto Instagram. And all I follow are Boykin Spaniels, because my dog is Boykin Spaniel. She's amazing. She's blind. She's 9 years old, and she's just great. And so I watch all these Boykin Spaniels now on Instagram, and I don't get to choose. I can choose the dogs that I follow, but plenty of other stuff pops up in my feed as well, and I don't get to say, hey, I want to see the latest ones, or I want to see the most popular ones, or I want to see the ones tagged with this or that or the other thing. And I don't love it, but the only thing I'm posting is pictures of my dog. Now I know, people could figure out all kinds of stuff if they really wanted. Go ahead. You can also have my social security number if you want. You can find it if you have the right search skills. Same for credit card. It's great. Go ahead. Charge things to my credit card. But it is pretty creepy. And TikTok even takes it a level further. And, just knowing what is happening with all of this data, there are enemy nation states, so to speak. And on a personal level, it's creepy. On a nation state level, it's absolutely terrifying.
Well, I think it's something that has to be regulated, because earlier we were talking about, okay, what's your price to install malware on your network for an extortion crew? In this case, like the average person, like if you have really, really good content, really excellent content, and an excellent platform to watch that content on, like people have a really low price to install that app and to use the heck out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not something where people are going to choose to do the safer thing, when it seems harmless, and they're not aware of any negative repercussions to them. Yeah, it's something that has to be handled at a regulatory level. Because we still don't really have good intelligence on what's happening with that data, or who has access to it. Like the last big story that came out with TikTok was like, oh yeah, actually, all kinds of people outside the country have access to that data. They can log right in and look at it, even though sure it's all running in the U.S. and there's U.S. employees and all that. Like that data was making it back where it needed to go. And speaking of trends that I don't think will end well, number 17 here, Web3 antivirus for Chrome. I'm not sure we need Web3 antivirus as a Chrome plugin. It's at least very specific to Web3. So it's looking to protect you from scams and con artists and that kind of thing, which is a good thing, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know that this is the best way to implement it, because there's all kinds of, like, you've got dedicated Web3 apps on your phone and stuff like that. Not everything you do is going to be through Chrome. I don't know. This is we'll just have to kind of watch and see.
But this is a marketing play. It's a marketing play just as much as it is a security play.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean they're benefiting off of the fact that there are more scams than legit Web3 enterprises out there.
Yep.
A must read, absolutely must read, is the Blameless Postmortem of USA versus Joseph Sullivan by Ryan McGeehan. I understand why he decided to make it a blameless postmortem. And I don't think that hurts its usefulness. But certainly the case is all about blame, and laying blame. And there's still a conversation to have there. But Ryan is friends with Joe, so I totally understand why he decided to go this route. But he has done a huge service for the community. He bought, I'm assuming it's thousands of dollars worth of court transcripts on his own dime, and read through, I think, thousands of pages of court transcripts. And these are depositions. These are the transcripts from during the trial. There's all kinds of technical details in there. And this is an excellent read that I think everybody, certainly everybody on the defender side, should take the time to read through. Like, there's detection engineering details in there that are really interesting. Opinions on the case. It's just really good. Let's see what else here. I think I skipped. No, I didn't skip TikTok. That's right. We talked about that. Really interesting report here, The Future of Ransomware. This is a report by Trend Micro. One of the authors is my good friend Stephen Hilt, which I realized after I started reading through it. Really easy to read. Really good kind of overview of where ransomware's been, where it is now, and where it's likely going in the future. So very readable report. I think one of the most approachable and imaginative, which you need in a predictions report, right? Some good stuff. I think definitely worth a read. So there's a post. I've got two links in here. There's a post and a longer report, and I link directly to the PDF there. Let's see. Kringlecon. We actually had a whole part of the news segment for Paul Security Weekly yesterday. We had Ed Scotus, or is it Scutus? I always get it wrong. Scotus? Gus, do you know? Is it Scotus or Scotus? Thank you. Yeah, so so Ed Scotus, Kringlecon is amazing. I think this is the 20th year they've done it. They built their own video game engine just for Kringlecon, like massive effort. They spend tens of thousands. Well, he personally spends tens of thousands of dollars a year running the infrastructure because he keeps 3 of them, like back 3 or 4 years running at once. And it's going to teach you cybersecurity skills. It's designed to be easy enough for kids to jump into to learn some stuff. I registered and played some during the segment yesterday, and it's a lot of fun. They created a whole blockchain with currency within the game. It's not worth anything. You can't use it outside the game, but they're using actual smart contracts and actual blockchain technology in it. So they've really gone out of their way to make this both relevant and fun and useful.
And that is the key to learning. If it is boring and not useful,
pass.
Who wants to learn it?
Pass, right? Yeah. So absolutely, check out Kringlecon. I think you can just go to 2022.kringlecon.com. Very cool, a lot of fun. There's a social aspect of it. There's a Discord that you can jump on. They've got a channel for each of the challenges where people are discussing them. They'll help you out. The elves in the game give you hints. It's really well done. Let's see. I think so InfraGard got hacked. There's details in here on how that happened. This article links to the Krebs article, and I think we mentioned in a previous segment in our year-end wrap-up segment that Brian Krebs naturally just went to the attacker and said, "How'd you do it?" And the attacker told him. And so there's some good details in that Brian
It's
Krebs
really quite amazing
as well.
Everybody wants their story
They're very
to be
proud.
heard.
I mean, for a lot of attackers, that's a big chunk of it. Is like, oh my God, look at how they just left this wide open. Look at this. Look, I can just go in here and do whatever I want, And they want people to know that they were able to just walk in and steal some stuff. So especially it being InfraGard, that's painful. That's not a great example.
Yeah, I mean, and as we were talking about, in the last segment, it's all about the big fish, right? They're going after the InfraGard members, the quote unquote marquee names in the industry.
Yeah, I don't know what the motivation was here. I don't know if this was more a hacker just trying to make a point, or if there's like criminal intent behind here and they're looking to monetize something. I mean, this kind of hack does, like, I tend to assume this is more, hacktivist to make a point. But
that's how I read it.
I haven't read deep enough into it to know for sure.
Yeah, I read the article. I just read the Krebs article, but it looks to me like it's more to make a point, because he also says, yeah, I'm asking for 50,000 ransom. I know I'm not going to get it. You could get some of this information. Tons of these fields.
There is a ransom. Is it a ransom or he's selling the data?
We're selling. I think there was a ransom component to it too. I could be wrong about that. I read it a couple days ago, but it was really this person wanted to make a point and say, look, here are all these people who are supposed to be the top of the top in security, and yet here we have this database that's kind of wide open.
I wonder if he'll take Kringle coins from Kringlecon as payment.
Maybe something.
That joke didn't land, but
yeah.
So the squirrel story here, not the funniest squirrel story, just kind of like what are we even doing here? So I saw this on Product Hunt, and it's a Metaverse Web showcase. And basically what they've done is they just take a generic room, 3D environment, like imagine you're developing something for a VR headset. Like this would be a single line of code. You'd just be like, load the room. And then they're just taking chunks of your website, videos and pages from your website, and throwing them on the wall. So it's kind of like walking around in an art gallery where pieces of your website is what's on the walls. And I can't imagine anybody wanting to consume a website not designed for a 3D environment, designed for trackpad, phone, scrolling, clicking. Like, it's just not going to be a good user experience. Yeah, it's just something where I feel like people are just going to throw everything against a wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, I mean,
And can you imagine like going through the news like we are, and a new company comes out of stealth, and they push you to literally put a VR headset on your head to read the press release or to check out the website. Like, it's just not worth my time. Like, the number of web pages I'm going to go through, the amount of stuff I'm going to read every day. I don't want to have to settle that thing on the head, adjust the straps, turn it on, type in the destination. It's just...
Yeah. Speaking of, since we're at the year end here, predictions, there was a prediction that we're all going to be working in the metaverse. And I'm like,
nope.
I don't want to be working in the metaverse. And I don't think a lot of people want to be working in the metaverse. I don't see this being a corporate trend. I just don't. I could be wrong, and I could be totally out of a job in 10 years because I'm old and cranky, but there is zero chance that I'm going to want to sit there at my desk all day in the metaverse.
I mean, rule one, designing a new product is, how is this going to, what problem is this solving? How is this better than the way things are now? How is this improved, user experience, an individual's life? Like what's the improvement here? I just don't see it.
That my computer can now show me images that are 3D, that I can look like I'm in the room with my coworkers when I'm working in my house by myself. Like, what? I don't see any. That it just sounds awful.
Yeah, I would love to. I've yet to try it. I've yet to do like what is it, Chat VR? Like, there's a couple of apps that are specifically designed to where you can work along with coworkers. If I'm going to trash it, like I've got a Quest 1, the first gen Quest at home. Like, I would love maybe somebody from Security Weekly, something like that, that also has one. I'm down to try it. I bet Tyler has a VR headset.
He's typing something, so my guess is he's like, me.
I was thinking Tyler Shields, but Tyler Robinson probably does as well.
Tyler Robinson just wrote in our chat, I love working on mine.
Well, then there you go. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
but I don't think Tyler Robinson's really the mainstream, your typical office worker. Yeah. And that's meant in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to understand, okay, like what work do you enjoy doing in there, and what about it makes it better than, like, I could see a situation where, okay, for this task, I need 5 monitors, to be productive.
Well, he just said he has 5 360, that doesn't,
virtual
360 50-inch virtual monitors.
Okay.
With no space needed.
Yeah, I'd have to try that out, because, like, what's
370 degree.
I guess you can hook into power, but, like, battery life is going to be an issue. Yeah, like I said,
Tyler Robinson single-handedly taking down the grid in Canada.
He's taking me down a notch. Yeah, so, I have used one. Like, the games are pretty fun to play on it. It's I don't know, there's kind of this, like, after having it on for an hour or something like that, there's this weird feeling you get when you take it off. Like, it's kind of exhausting, you realize where you were, and I don't know, it just seems like it'd be really easy to lose track of things in the outside world. Like, I would be more excited about augmented reality than virtual, where you're not completely isolated from the world around you,
Well, not to get us completely off track, but I've read a lot about augmented reality.
It's the last story.
and mental health problems, and how it can help people with things like depression, and how this augmented reality can help move them past it. Way more in depth than I could even go into, even if we had the time. But yeah, that makes sense to me. But sitting at my desk working, Sorry, Tyler Robinson. You go into the future. I'm going to stay in my curmudgeonly little world right back here on my laptop with my separate monitor that's real. I can touch it if I need to.
I didn't realize Magic Leap went out of business. Did they? Like totally? I knew they weren't doing well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Even the Zuckerberg is kind of backpedaling a bit. Having to make a lot of apologies for the amount of money he spent on it with the amount he has to show for it. And in their defense, they did say this is like a 5 to 7 year project to get it to where it's really something you can be productive with and useful. But at the same time, they're like, they're requiring Facebook employees to use it like a certain number of hours per day, and it sounds like employees don't really want to do it. So
I don't want anything touching my head for that long either. I don't want anything really touching my head.
My ears hurt right now. Like just wearing these headphones. Like I keep trying to adjust them, but I don't even like having headphones on that long.
No.
So it's
I can't even wear a hat for more than an hour. So
yeah. I need to do more testing, perhaps with Tyler Robinson before I swear off the metaverse completely. But I think that's a good place to stop with that.
I think you're going to go into the next room right now, and he's going to give you the complete lowdown on why it's the best thing ever.
Over dinner. Over dinner. We'll do that over. I'm hungry.
You should enjoy that.
All right. Thanks so much, Katie, for helping me close out the year, wrap up 2022. We'll talk again in 2023. I think we, Gus, correct me if I'm wrong. We have a greatest hit coming next week. We're gonna play a previous episode rather than. Oh, that's not happening. Well, you can go play any of those previous episodes that we mentioned. They're all out there. 299 was a great one. I think 300 was a great one. I think it was like 264 where we had Andrew Morris on. Go check those out. We're now posting clips, which I love. Short, excellent, like couple-minute clips of some of our shows. If you don't have time to spend a whole 30, 45 minutes on a segment, you can watch just a clip. So be sure to check those out. And that's it from us. We'll see you all next year.